Freaks.
Are you like in it, or are you too tall?
I think, well, I'm a tall person, but I'm in it, I think, mostly, and I think it'll be okay.
Okay, as long as you feel comfortable.
So, was this 1932?
Yes.
Okay, we watched Freaks.
We watched Freaks.
The 1932 film, which I looked up on Rotten Tomatoes and had no idea has been lauded as a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like, did you? I did not know that.
I did, because it's on my DVD of Turner Classic Movies. Like, that's how I watched it. And it is considered like a classic horror film.
Yeah.
Which is a thing we'll talk about, I'm sure. But, like, I've known that Freaks is considered a masterpiece because I grew up with it. Like, it was one of the first horror movies I ever saw as a kid. Like, that and The Invisible Man and Creature from the Black Lagoon were all those, like, original horror movies that I saw.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't know anything about it. And it is, like, a shorter film. So
yes,
an hour and 4 minutes, I think. And so my initial assessment of this, and if you haven't seen it and have an interest, obviously go watch it, because we're going to do some spoilery type of stuff here, is that it's very interesting, but I also think it's kind of a scattershot mess.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think it's also a movie that, we talked about this, could not be made today.
Like,
I think there would be a huge backlash if somebody tried to make this movie.
And I mentioned that season 4 of American Horror Story tries to, I think, emulate some of what Freaks did, but in a better way. Like, it's like way better way.
That's the use of way a lot. I like it.
Yeah.
So, and I guess a quick plot summary would be that the story essentially follows a circus troupe, or whatever the troupe. I'm not sure how you pronounce that term. Troupe.
Troupe.
A troupe. Of various characters. But the thing about the movie is a lot of the characters in the film I don't think are, typical actors, right? They tried to find people that would sort of fit the roles they had in mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like CGI. I mean, these are people that have true, whether you want to call them disabilities or whatever, because that's what they considered freaks back in the day, is just differently abled people.
And there's a lot of lingering shots of people. It's sort of trying to highlight how they sort of get around those disabilities, like people eating with their feet and toes and things like that.
Well, and for me it was to try to illustrate the idea that, like, they're people. They can live full, like, even like the bearded lady has a baby. Like, these are people that live full lives, and then this is what happens when a villain enters that scenario and tries to disrupt that and treat them like they're not people that live full lives.
Right. And so the story revolves around these characters, and really it focuses on, is it Hans?
Yes.
The little person?
Yes.
And so there's a woman there who realizes that he stands to inherit a large sum of money.
Yes, he's already got some money, and he dotes on her and gives her gifts. Cleopatra is her name. She's the trapeze artist.
Right.
And then, once what's her name? Frida.
Yeah.
His fiance is like, oh, you must know about his fortune. She's like, oh, I don't care about that. And then she hatches a plot to basically marry him and then kill him to get his money.
Yeah, and so that's essentially the story. But the interesting thing about it is, right, I mean, you would see the title and assume that it's referring to, the people who have disabilities and the things here. But really, it's more about the monstrous humans, the other people that are not sort of in that same camp, that are trying to get the money. So it's again, to me, it's a little bit messy and all over the place. And I think you had even said, like, I don't know if it needed to be a full movie.
No, and if it was going to be it is a full movie, but if they really wanted it to be a full-length movie, I would have liked more conflicts. Like, this was very much a singular conflict, this woman trying to get his money and taking advantage of him, and then how it sort of affects everybody else. But I think there were potentially more stories they could have told if they wanted it to be a full-length film.
I think this actually would be cool as sort of a Netflix series if they were to try and do it today.
Which is basically what American Horror Story did.
Okay, yeah, so same sort of thing. So now I think visually it's really a cool-looking movie. Like, I think they do a good job with, like, kind of the whole, hermit lifestyle of people in the circus and entertainers and that kind of stuff.
Because you only ever see them in their, like, caravan? Is that what you want to call it? Like, it's very enclosed and isolated, as I'm sure life felt like for these people.
Yeah, and I thought, too, that just especially when you get toward the end of it, when they finally actually get into motion and the plot kind of reaches its climax, like that was super cool. The way that carried out.
I think that is why it's become a masterpiece, because of that final scene and the shots like from the ground underneath the carriages, like. That to me is so disturbing, and it's beautiful.
Well, and yeah, the way that is horrifying, the way that plays out. But I think even more disturbing, or really in a lot of ways. I mean, there's a lot of other things that happen, but like the abuse toward women. Like, I mean, at one point, a woman gets punched in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot of like stuff in this that you kind of recoil at.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I see sort of the horrendous thing that a lot of critics refer to when they talk about this, beyond sort of the way that people are treated.
And it's like you said, that like the real freaks are the people that behave in monstrous ways and abuse others for their own benefit, and that's really who the villains are in this movie, are those people.
Yeah. So now, I guess comparing it against some of the older films that we've watched recently, right? So we watched Nosferatu, we watched Creature from the Black Lagoon, and then The Mummy. I think those were the ones that we watched. Yeah. How would you sort of rank it among those? Because this feels very different in a lot of ways.
It is very different. Yeah, it is very, very different.
Yeah.
It is, so it's hard to rank it. Like, I would rather watch Freaks than The Mummy.
Okay.
I think I can place that. You know, I would put Freaks above The Mummy, and then maybe Creature from the Black Lagoon above Freaks, and then Nosferatu. And that one's even hard to rank with them because it's so different.
The funny thing is, the more I see these films, the more I kind of see Nosferatu as being like a legit masterpiece. Like,
oh yeah,
like it really. I'm like, you know, even for being a decade younger or older than these movies, like it really does a lot of things super well.
It does, absolutely.
So yeah, there were a lot of things I liked about this, and I will say though, I did, and I think it was unintentional, but I could not help but laugh at the very end when she was turned into a chicken, like the whole thing. And I get the whole idea of what they're going for, which you very astutely said, like they basically turned her into a freak.
Yeah, I mean that's well, because that's how the movie, and it's been a long time since I've seen the movie. I saw it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time, and I forgot that it opened with that. That it opened with the guy basically starting the story about this woman and what happened to her. And then the whole film is a flashback.
Yeah.
Into how it got to this. And then I forgot that they actually showed her. Part of me wishes that we never got to see.
That's kind of what I thought was going to happen, which I think would have been, the ambiguity would have been a little bit more effective there.
So much more disturbing. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Because when they show her, she's got like the chicken feathers on and she's clucking. It is just, it is disturbing, but at the same time, like because of so much, everything that preceded it was legitimately disturbing.
Yes.
It was kind of, to me, a little bit more comical than it was supposed to be.
And because, I mean, logistically, I don't think that could happen. Like, I'm not, you know, and I guess, like, for me, I don't know, it says there's something to analyze there about, yes, they made her into a freak, and it is comical because you can't make someone into something like that. Like, if someone's born a certain way, there's nothing comical about how they're born.
Right, yeah.
But you could make them into something that is different, and then sure, that would be something to gawk at.
You know what this ending reminded me of? I'm curious if you thought of anything similar. Tusk.
Oh.
And I don't know if Tusk drew anything from this, but I saw some similarities there a little bit.
Yeah, I can see why you'd say that. Tusk was a very disturbing film.
Talk about body horror. That's like, you know...
And I don't like body horror.
Yeah. So,
I mean, for all the right reasons, right? Like, because it upsets me, as it should.
Yeah, as it should most people, I think, right?
As it should most people.
So, I mean, you know, I think if somebody has an interest in seeing kind of early attempts at horror that are trying to make, I don't know, larger, I don't know if I would call it societal commentary, excuse me, but probably, then, you know, I think it's a good movie to check out. I mean, there's sort of an educational merit to it, I guess.
It is, and I think that there's a lot that can be said about what they were experiencing in 1932, that there's always going to be a demographic or population of people experiencing that type of discrimination and ostracization. And so I think it's always a movie that can spawn conversations. But I was thinking about it like, okay, we watched The Mummy, we watched Creature from the Black Lagoon, and even Nosferatu that are maybe more rooted in like creature feature movies where you have people who are clearly making bad decisions that sort of lead them down this path. And while Freaks still has that, I mean, they make the decision to take advantage of this person, it's so different. Like, and how, if you were going to put it in this classic horror or creature feature, like, what's the creature? Ooh, analyze that if anybody needs a topic for their English 111 paper.
Right, or some other film studies class or whatever.
Yes.
So, I think it's... the other thing I would say is I think it's worth watching, too, even if you're a little hesitant, because it's so brief. Like, I mean, you're not really, like, giving up a ton of your time. It's a little over an hour to watch it. I watched it while I was sort of doing some laundry and that kind of stuff. But I
watched it while I was painting my nails.
Yep, right, as one does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I don't know, anything else with this one?
I do think that it, like we've said, I don't think it needed to be as long as it was, even though it's not very long. But I did like you were saying earlier, the aesthetic sort of keeps them trapped in this environment. And I noticed in all of these scenes where they're sort of, where you're meeting all of the people and getting to know about their lives a little bit, there is this circus music playing in the background. I mean, they're at the circus, that makes sense. But it almost makes you feel like you are at the circus as you're watching the movie.
There is a strong sense of setting, for sure. Like, I think it works well, and I think it's smart that it didn't really deviate from that, right? I mean, the setting doesn't change until they kind of get into their caravan mode at the very end, really.
Yeah.
And sort of the ambiance of the thunderstorm and everything that sort of leads to that, which I thought was cool.
I forgot the ending where, like, everything's happened and I guess some time has passed. And they're trying to reconnect with Hans, who's heartbroken about the fact that his fiance was trying to kill him, or his wife was trying to kill him, and then she was mutilated. But they do make the comment about how, like, you were just trying to stop them. You. And I'm like, that is not the sense I got when I was watching. And also, I don't need you to have tried to stop them. Like, you could have maimed this woman, and I would have forgiven you. Like, I don't need you. That I didn't need his behavior to be justified, or I didn't need to forgive him for anything.
Yeah.
She tried to kill you, like.
Right, yeah. And I did love the scene where, he's obviously aware of what's going on, and he's got his buddies in there, and one pulls out a gun, pulls out a switchblade, and, like, the whole sort of thing.
Yeah, that was a cool moment of tension when she goes to, like, give him the medicine. Yeah. And he sits up in bed, and he's like, give me the bottle. And she's like, what?
The only thing I will say that I had a tough time with initially was some of the voices were kind of hard to make out early
So
on.
I watch everything with subtitles.
Okay, so then you did not have... See, and I'm not a subtitles person. It distracts me because I feel like I'm just reading instead of looking at the picture. But I know some people prefer that, which I probably should have done it in that instance.
It's fine.
So, okay, what are we looking at next? What's our next one?
Well, and now I know you had mentioned Dracula.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of hesitant just because I don't love Dracula, but because it was directed by the same person who directed Freaks, now I do want to watch it.
So I think what we should do is we'll do Dracula.
Okay. And Dracula was first.
Because Kim has worked on a play for Victor, which is a Frankenstein-themed thing. We should watch Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein.
I do want to watch those originals as well.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And I think we're actually, to carry on that theme, we're going to watch Lisa Frankenstein sometime soon.
At some point.
We were going to watch it in theaters, but like it's ending its theatrical run and it's to catch it at a reasonable time. And now it's streaming, but you have to purchase it. It's like $20. So I don't know if it's worth that. Although, I guess if we purchase it, we could share. I mean, I don't know.
We'll see. I don't know.
Anyway, we will be back soon. Thanks for checking in. And I think Dracula is up next. Anything else, Kim?
One of us. One of us.
What is that?
That's what the Freaks chant. One
is it?
of
Did
us.
they? I missed that
That's like
part.
the most famous part of the movie, Chris.
When did they do that?
With the wedding feast.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
That's the whole point of the movie.
Maybe I was folding T-shirts during that part.
One of us.
Yeah. Because I know that's from a lot of other TV shows and things.
That's where it started.
Okay. Well, I've learned something new. Okay, Dracula coming up soon. As always, thanks for watching.
Yes.